Firing it up. Welcome back, everybody. A little bit of discombobulation last week. I missed last week. I just had so many things going on. I really wanted to talk to you guys about LSU's devastating loss to Wisconsin for episode 10 of my podcast. Kind of episode 10 is kind of whenever you feel like you hit that landmark a little bit. You hit that first little landmark. I got Cody Butler back here with me. Cody, you see what I'm saying with the first little landmark? You hit episode 10, now you got to get to 100. Then it's 1,000.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, man, well, we got a lot to talk about. I kind of wanted to talk to you when LSU lost because I figured it'd be a lot more of an entertaining podcast. But then they came out and beat up on Jacksonville State a little bit and seemed like they possibly found a quarterback. So I want to get into that. Also, UFC 203 was this week, and Stipe Miocic defended his heavyweight belt against Alistair Overeem. CM Punk made his debut. Travis Brown and Fabricio Werdum had a controversial fight. So we got a ton to talk about. I'm going to let you decide this next option. I didn't watch UFC 203. You did. I watched the entirety of the game. Did you watch the entirety of the game?
No, I did not.
Okay,
I
but
was flipping back and forth between that and the prelims.
all right, you got the general gist of like what happened with the quarterback Danny Etling and everything, and Harris and all that other
Yeah, I
stuff,
saw
right?
that. I left it on there for that part.
Okay. All right. So which one do you want to start off with, man? You want to talk about some UFC or you want to talk about a little LSU football?
LSU football if you want to.
That sounds good to me, man. So, Cody, I want to take you back 2 weeks ago when we lost to Wisconsin. What went through your mind immediately after the loss?
That any chance of us having a successful season is kind of in jeopardy. And that Les Miles needed to go. That was the bottom line. Les Miles needed to get out of there. We needed a new coach.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of what was on people's minds, especially that second part. And I was one of the people who said that you should, after we lost to Wisconsin, I felt like they were a little bit of an underrated team. I don't think they're a playoff team, and I don't think LSU is a playoff team yet. I think they have a lot of improving to do. But I was kind of one of the ones that said there's obviously some big problems, but let's see how it plays out. If we win out, we still can win the championship. The problem is that I also said, well, if we play like we played against Wisconsin, we're not going to beat Alabama. We're not going to beat Ole Miss. Going to have trouble beating Auburn and Arkansas and guys like that, teams like that. Excuse me. So I feel like the Jacksonville State game was kind of definitely not a jump in the right direction, like a big jump, but a kind of a step in the right direction. If you see what I'm saying, just with what the offense did, man. So I'll jump back to the Wisconsin game real quick. What were your thoughts on the LSU defense just for that game?
I think the defense played a hell of a game.
Oh.
On the field, every bit but 6 minutes of the first half. You know what I mean? That's a lot of time to play.
Yeah.
They held their own.
Yeah, I like Dave Aranda's new 3-4 defense, especially what I saw from Wisconsin. Seemed like they gave up too many big plays against Jacksonville State, but we'll get to that in a second. Man, I really like the performance that secondary had against Wisconsin, though. Trey White especially, man. I think that he is a surefire, bona fide first-round draft pick, and he's a good guy, too, man. I can tell you I've interviewed him a couple times. He's got a good head on his shoulders, too. So he had a nice pick six. He actually returned to punt for a touchdown against Jacksonville State, too. So his stock is going up, and I think it's going up fast.
Oh, he's a hell of a ball player. There's no doubt. Our linebackers did good in both games also, I thought.
Yeah, I did too. Overall, man, I really liked what I've seen from the defense so far. You knew that you Trey White, your Jamal Adams, Kendall Beckwith, those are kind of the leaders of this defense, I think. Kind of the senior guys. Christian Lockature was going to be a guy who I thought was going to have a big year, and then he went down with a torn ACL. I thought he was going to.
I'm struggling because of him. I think that the line on both sides of the ball is struggling.
It's a younger line, and then right, it's a younger line, and then but I think what's helping kind of alleviate that is that you got Trevante Valentine coming back, who was previously kicked off the team, but they brought him. He went to junior college. They brought him back to LSU this year, and he really is a nightmare up the middle. He's a 355-pound guy who's athletic, probably could stand. He said it himself. I interviewed him, or I should say the media interviewed him last week. I was there. He said his goal was to get down to like 330. He's 355 right now. So, but he's playing pretty good. So, I also like what I saw from the pass rush, man. Arden Key, I think he's got the ability to be the next like Barkevius Mingo type edge pass rusher. I think the 3-4 is going to fit well for this.
Yeah, I like the move when they moved him to linebacker. I really did.
Yeah, that's his more natural position. Well, let's talk about the offensive performance just against Wisconsin. I want to go through. Take me back. What are your thoughts on Brandon Harris's game just from Wisconsin?
I had flashbacks to Jordan Jefferson.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit wrong side of a barn.
Yeah.
Underthrowing. They never knew where they needed to jump or fall down to catch the ball.
Right.
Bad deal when you're trying to establish a passing game.
Yeah, and then, of course, I feel like we're kind of backtracking because a second game has happened and you saw a little bit of changes, but after that first game, man, I just said it's the same old LSU offense. They're going to run the ball up the middle, to the left, to the right with Fournette. He's running into a wall every damn time, you know. It's a testament to how talented he is that he can still perform at the level he does when he's running like that. And then they're going to do that, and then they're going to throw the ball deep with Brandon Harris to either Dupree or Doral. They're not going to use any other weapons, and that's pretty much what they did.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I don't think Brandon Harris is the next coming of John Elway. I didn't think that when he first got here. I thought that he's a talented guy, but I think that he doesn't necessarily fit Cam Cameron's offense. Cam Cameron loves the big prototypical passer in the NFL type offense. I mean, when Cam Cameron had success with this offense his first year, when everybody was singing his praises, whenever he had Zach Mettenberger at quarterback, then he had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, who are two of the best receivers in the NFL right now, plus a very damn good running game with Jeremy Hill. So he had his offense there, and Brandon Harris isn't the same type of quarterback as Zach Mettenberger. So in saying that, though, I don't think that, especially in that first game against Wisconsin and really all last November, that LSU puts him in the best positions to succeed either.
No, they don't. He's a lot more talented guy than what he's showing.
Yes, he can run the ball, and they don't hardly ever run any options with the guy. He can throw a damn good deep ball. I think he can.
What they're doing is they're recruiting guys. How many high schools do you know that run a offense from under the center?
None, because dude, do you realize how hard it is I haven't been a quarterback, but do you realize how much of a difference it is between running an offense from under center versus in the shotgun? When you're in the shotgun, you can go ahead and read the entire defense, and you have an extra 3 or 4 steps that you're already ahead of the game. You don't have to deal with that drop back and the pass rush coming around.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't see a ton of under center until you get to NFL. I mean, even with the college game, you see a little bit of it in like Stanford, and then of course they do it at LSU, but it doesn't really work like they wanted it to. But it's really different. It's hard to ask a kid who played in a style like Harris did when he was in Bossier City, I should say, and he didn't play under center. But then you're asking him to come play under center, and it's not his offense that he's best suited for. But at the same time, he's a junior now, so he should have made some progressions in that offense.
Exactly, I agree with that too.
So
made some kind of progression to run the style that he's supposed to be in now. But when you recruit somebody that hasn't been under center since junior high and doesn't run that style offense, I mean, if you have an offense set around a pocket passing, tall, big guy, quarterback, prototypical Joe
right.
Flacco guy, why
Yeah.
draft somebody that runs an option and a spread offense?
Yeah.
Why do you recruit that kind of guy?
Yeah, that's true.
Not saying he's not a good athlete, and maybe you recruit him so nobody else gets him, he doesn't run all over. But don't try to throw him in something, I don't know, I just don't get that.
Yeah, well, that's been the whole problem behind the LSU offense, and I want to move off of Harris from the Wisconsin game. One of a bone I really had to pick with a lot of people is not necessarily the media, but a lot of the fans. I heard them say Fournette didn't have a good game against Wisconsin. Look, the dude did all he could. He rushed for 138 yards with no offensive line blocking and 10 or 11 guys in the blitzing every time. I mean, you can't ask. Yeah, you can't ask for much more of the guy. And then he hurt his ankle too. So I mean, obviously he didn't play against Wisconsin. I mean Jacksonville State, and we'll get to that too. But let's talk about the receivers real quick, man. Malachi Dupree has been really disappointing so far this year. He just isn't playing well, man. He's dropping balls. He's not jumping and contesting passes like he should. I don't really know what his deal is, man. For a guy who had a relatively good amount of success his freshman year and then built upon that last year, I really expected this could be the year where he could possibly get 1,000 yards receiving, but he's not playing that well, man. I don't know if he's in a slump or what. What's your take?
I'm kind of, twitched about it too. I thought this was going to be his breakout year. I really did. I think he was going to come out all guns blazing and have a hell of a year. And like you said, he's dropping balls, but in his defense, the first game didn't know where it was going.
Well,
it was what you're going to have to do to get the ball.
That's definitely an interesting take that I haven't heard on it yet, and you're right. At the same time, Brandon Harris has throughout his 2 years that he's been here, he's shown the best chemistry with Dupree, and like you said, I expected them to build on that, but I don't know, man. I think he's going to turn it around, but they were really looking for that guy to be the guy who would move the chains on third down, like Jarvis Landry did 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But really, man, Trayvon Durrell has been the steadiest guy.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. And
often, too, I don't understand why you don't use tight ends as much as they have. They did more this last game.
Right. And I was going to get to that, too, yeah.
Pro-style offense, why not use tight ends? You have 3 of them that are damn good.
Hey, why not use Jazz Ferguson, big 6'5" receiver, hometown West Feliciana boy?
Yeah, they praised him in the spring.
Yeah. I mean, he might not be, I don't know, we haven't seen him play a lot. I hope he does well. He might not be the most polished of guys, but he's big and tall and shit. Just throw it up to him one time and see if he can come down with it, you know?
Yeah. If Dupree's dropping, give him a shot.
Yeah, if Dupree's dropping, give him a shot. DJ Chark, they did get him involved in the offense a little bit more this past game, but we've heard them sing his praises for the past 2 or 3 years, and I think he made his first catch against Jacksonville State.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, of course, they have a huge matchup difference at tight end with Deshaun Smith, who is an athletic freak. He's an athletic freak in nature. And they finally exploit, like you said, throw to the tight end. So, offensive line been struggling too. I really expected more from this group, but at the same time, they lost 2 veteran starters last year with Gerald Hawkins and Vidal Alexander, so they're basically putting 2 new people in at tackle, which are your 2 most important positions on that line, was what I think. So I don't really know what their deal is. I think they just have to gel more. They have to find the best 5 guys to put on that field. They played better against Jacksonville State, but not to the potential that they have. Well, let's get into Jacksonville State. Let's get into what everybody wants to hear about Danny Etling. Without saying any of his stats or anything, give me your thoughts.
I thought he came in and did a phenomenal job. I really did. His passes were right where they needed to be. That pass he threw down the sideline to Smith.
Yeah, Deshaun Smith, tight end.
You couldn't have put that ball any more perfect.
No.
And then one to Dupree in the end zone. Dupree dropped it. But he got to make that catch. He got to fight for the ball.
You talking about the interception?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
was in his hands, and he let the guy get in front of him. You can't do that.
Yeah,
not talented wide receiver.
That's what I was talking about. I don't want to call the guy out and say he's lazy or anything, because I'm not going to do that. But you just got to contest for that ball more, man. You do. You're 6'4", getting close to maybe 6'5", That's what they say anyway. 6'3", 6'4", though. You got to jump for that ball and just be a little bit more aggressive. Traven Durrell's an aggressive receiver. Jarvis Landry, who was only 6 foot, was a damn aggressive receiver. You just got to be a little bit more physical.
That goes back to the thing. I don't even know if he knew where that ball was going. So he used to running all over for the ball. When you finally get one that hits you in the chest, he's not expecting it.
True. Well, okay. So let's talk about what led to Danny Etling getting into the game. Brandon Harris goes out on the first 2 drives and goes 1 for 4 for 8 yards. Missed, I know, one wide open screenplay that would have been a first down.
Yeah, threw it in the stands.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if it's just he's so scared because he's looking over his shoulder because he thinks he's going to be pulled or what, but he just I don't know. It's what led to them pulling the guy. So whenever you saw Danny Etling coming in, man, whenever you saw him warming up on the sidelines, I was like, are they really about to put him in this early? But all it took was 2 drives because I think Les realized after that Wisconsin game, I have got to do something different. Shit to just save my job.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that he should have realized that at the end of last year that he's got to do something different with the offense, but maybe he didn't think he would have to change quarterbacks from Brandon Harris, because I thought Brandon Harris played well for most of the year last year. Obviously, the whole team played bad in November, but I thought he played well for most of the year. Maybe he didn't think he would have to go to this other quarterback, and I guess he just realized that.
He might have figured he could just saddle up on number 7 and ride him off into the sunset and save his job.
That's probably exactly what he figured, but number 7, as talented as he is, can't run into a 9-10 man wall every damn play,
Exactly. If you do, you're gonna hurt him, and then what you got? You got guys, but better for that's probably the best running back since Bo Jackson.
Yeah. Absolutely. So,
I think he did an amazing job coming in there and really do some good crisp passes.
Do you know what his final stat line was?
No, I don't.
It's going to be kind of misleading when I tell you, so get ready for it. He was 6 for 14, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a rushing touchdown, and he had a fumble. So yeah, not exactly.
The second half wasn't as good as the second quarter was all his.
Yeah.
Really have a great performance.
Absolutely. So technically, he didn't even complete 50% of his passes, and his touchdown turnover interception ratio was 1-1, and plus he had a lost fumble, but he did rush a touchdown, so I guess it was 2-2. But man, like you said, going back to the Dupree thing, I know he should have at least been 8 for 14 because Dupree dropped 2 balls. So I mean, not exactly setting the world on fire, but whenever he came into the game, the offense, first of all, he looked poised, he looked calm, he looked cool, he looked collected in the pocket, he didn't rush. He didn't look like he was fretting. Even when he threw that interception, even when he lost that fumble, he just looked cool, calm, and collected. And the offense ran so much smoother when he came in.
He's the type of quarterback you need in that offense. You're going to run the offense, put him in there and let him do his thing.
I agree.
Like you said, it wasn't, he didn't come out there and set the world on fire, but he gave us a little bit of hope for the future.
Exactly, and it's kind of funny that he didn't come out there and stat-wise set the world on fire, but LSU fans are just so glad of what they saw from the guy because they're so used to bad quarterback play.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say, I have a podcast, I cover the team, but this is a different type of forum that I'm on right now. I'm obviously a big fan of LSU, but at the same time, I can step back and take a different look from it, as you probably can too. I'm not completely jumping on the Danny Etling bandwagon yet, and this is why. I absolutely think he should start against Mississippi State, no question. I would be shocked. If he didn't. But I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon yet because history has shown us with LSU football, and particularly LSU quarterbacks, that there ain't really one that starts an entire season. So chances are, just from a historical perspective, and I don't hope this happens because then it won't be good for. It won't be good. Harris is liable to have to come back into the starting job sometime down the line.
And not just that, I mean, first performances really can't show you much. Remember, Anthony Jennings coming in and looking amazing in that bowl game.
I think the Arkansas game when he threw the game-winning touchdown. When
I thought it was a bowl game.
Well, he started the bowl game and he played the bowl game. He wasn't. LSU won that game against Iowa, I believe. He didn't play really well, but they ground and pounded the ball and they just dominated, or they overpowered a less talented Iowa team. But against Arkansas, he came in when Mettenberger tore his ACL and he threw the game-winning touchdown to Trayvon Durrell.
And then remember when everybody was calling for Brandon Harris to come in, he came in and did an awesome job in one of those games last year, year before that.
Against New Mexico State when Jennings had like 3 turnovers on the first 4 drives in the first quarter or something, you know.
You really can't look at the first performance and think that's what you're going to have. And he's going to have to see some SEC defenses and really get a good look at those. And I'd like to see him against those teams before I say, yeah, this is the guy.
Yeah, but I mean, you absolutely agree that he gets to start against Mississippi State.
Oh, if I'm Les Miles, I'm starting, no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. And Les hasn't come out and said that to the media. I'm pretty sure he's told his team that, but he hasn't come out and said that to us. And I mean, it is what it is. I guess from a coaching perspective, if you don't come out and say who's going to start, Mississippi State has to prepare for 2 different type of quarterbacks. But whatever.
Did you see the tweet today from what's that guy's name? Johnson.
Tyron Johnson. I heard about this on the radio when I was on the way home just now. Take me through it. Like, what exactly happened?
He tweeted to Brandon Harris that you should have transferred too. And Brandon Harris replied to him and said, "You smart."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I have to say about Brandon Harris from sitting on the sidelines. I genuinely felt bad for the kid because ESPN kept cutting to him on the sidelines and he was just standing there. I mean, what else can you do, you know? To credit to him, he didn't go sit on the bench and he didn't go pout, but he stood on the sidelines. And I mean, I didn't like that ESPN kept showing that picture of him. I mean, he's a college kid, man. I wouldn't want him doing that to me if I messed up, you know. So I didn't really like. What'd you say?
You're in that spotlight.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. That is absolutely true.
Like when they scored that touchdown, he's sitting there just looking dead stare. He's not celebrating with his teammates. He's not smiling. He's not happy for the team scoring.
Yeah.
You know?
Well then, and I didn't know this until yesterday, but he didn't stand on the field and sing the national anthem. He ran up and shook the opposing team's hand real quick and then ran straight to the locker room. So I can tell you that just from covering LSU football over the past few years is that Brandon isn't a bad guy, but he doesn't take well to criticism.
Yeah. You can tell him on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he had that tweet out too. I heard about the tweet when I was on the way over here. I tried following Brandon Harris. I don't know if this on Twitter. I don't know if this is because of what the tweet he sent out, but his account is actually private, which is pretty surprising for the quarterback who starts at such high prestigious school as LSU, you know. So.
And you can take that to mean 1,000 things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's still.
Like, yeah, I should have, or you smart, like you're being funny. You know, it could have been. There's no telling what he really meant by that.
Yeah, I heard something else. Somebody else said that supposedly Harris follows a bunch of different coaches on Twitter, but one that he doesn't follow, surprisingly enough, is Les Miles, and that the other day, or maybe today or yesterday, he followed the TCU head coach on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I don't want to read too much into it, but take that for what you will. So. Anyway, let's get to the defense real quick, how they performed against Jacksonville State. Just real quick, I felt that it was a little bit of a regression, I should say. They gave up a few big plays here and there, but overall, I mean, you're going to have games like that. I think this is a solid defense. I think this defense will if we get to the college football playoff, I think a combination of this defense, Leonard Fournette, and good game management by the quarterback will be what gets us there. So let's talk about Darius Geis real quick. How would you think about his performance? I thought he played really, really well for his first start.
I think he did too. I think he's protecting the ball a whole lot better than what he has been, in the Wisconsin game when he had to fumble, and then last year. It's like he runs wild with
it. His freshman year he did. He looks like he runs wild. I think that's why they had him on punt return too, because he's a big, kick return, because he's a big threat on the kick return. But I was glad to see him be more of a balanced type running back in this game against Jacksonville State. I just overall thought he had a good performance. I thought the first couple of runs that LSU was just being predictable and Jacksonville State was loading the box, but he really got some separation later in those runs. I think that this kid is talented enough that he could start on just about any other SEC team, with the exception of Georgia because of Nick Chubb.
I think so too.
So he's in a situation where Leonard Fournette's on the same team, but that's not a bad thing because I think he'll get plenty of carries in this offense, and
I think playing with Leonard Fournette will make him a better player down the road.
Yeah, and they're different. They're almost different style runners too.
Yeah.
Geis is actually a more prototypically sized NFL running back. Fournette's like 6 foot or 6'1", 220 something pounds, 225 pounds. Geis is a little bit more compact. He's 5'11", 212 pounds. Both of them have plenty of muscle on them.
Yeah. I saw Geis at Fan Day 2 years ago. His arms are gigantic. Be a guy of his size.
Yeah, he's got a definitely. He's going to be good. Really good. He is good.
Back there, Williams either. We got running backs.
Darrell Williams. Would you believe me if I said he was the leading receiver so far on LSU's team? Or excuse me, against Jacksonville State.
But yeah, I saw they threw him a lot of passes, little screen,
Yeah.
routes, stuff like that.
How simple of a play is throwing a screen to a running back that really works in a lot of situations that LSU didn't really do until Jacksonville State.
That's the best play in football.
Yeah, it is. And to your credit, Harris couldn't complete them.
Yeah. Well, it seems like he throws 90 miles an hour when he's throwing 5 yards ahead of it. And when he's throwing a ball where he needs to throw it, get rid of it quick, he's kind of lost it out there. Like he got it backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, so real quick, man, I want to talk about Mississippi State real quick. I think that Mississippi State is sort of not an underrated team, but I think they're, underrated, but they're a little bit better than what people think. I think they have a pretty good quarterback with Nick Fitzgerald, but I just think LSU has too much talent for these guys. I think it'll be close for a little while, but I think LSU has too much talent for them, and I'm predicting a win for the Tigers in Tiger Stadium.
I think so too. I don't think they're as talented as Wisconsin. I think they're probably an edge above Jacksonville State because Jacksonville State had a talented team.
Oh, yeah. Very talented. That quarterback, Eli Jenkins, is really good.
Yeah, he is.
So
They had a good running back. I don't think Mississippi State has got the talent Wisconsin, but I think Wisconsin's very underrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they're a top 10 team, Cody. I was kind of surprised that they went completely from being unranked to all the way to number 10, and they beat LSU. But I definitely think they deserve to be ranked.
Yeah, they're knocking on the door for sure.
Yeah, and to LSU's credit, I think that they're a little bit better than number 20 or 21. So.
Yeah, they just lost that first game early.
I don't.
I want to lose early. That's
good point. I was making that point to other people because you can still control your own destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. The years we won, we lost early. Minus the time we lost to Arkansas.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that's enough about LSU football. About 30 minutes of it. I'm going to let you take the lead on this. I got the card in front of me, but like I said, I didn't get to watch any UFC 203. But just coming off that historic UFC 202 card, what were your overall expectations going into this card?
I didn't think this was going to be a great fight card. CM Punk is on there against Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall's got two professional fights, one in the UFC. CM Punk's, it's kind of like a circus fight. You never do
Yeah.
You had Overeem and Miocic headlining it. I mean, I figured that was going to be a good fight.
Yeah.
But that was the only one on the card that I was really looking forward to seeing.
I definitely knew somebody would get knocked out in that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I said that somebody would get knocked out in Lesnar and Hunt, and that didn't happen, but I really had a good feeling that somebody was going to get knocked out in this, and that ended up happening. What about Travis Brown and Werdum? Were you looking forward to that fight just coming in?
Not really. I'm not a fan of either one. I think Travis Brown, for a while there, he would get to where he was almost ready to fight for a title. One time was against Werdum, and he came out there and just got slaughtered. And then this time I was kind of expecting the same thing.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, on the prelims, do you have any particular fight you want to talk about? I see that Beth Correa, is it Correa or Correa? Correa. Okay, I've heard people pronounce different things. So Beth Correa beat Jessica I.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Jessica I. Who is she?
Cleveland girl.
Okay.
Beth Correa's Brazilian. She's won.
Beth Correa.
Knocked out.
Yeah.
I told her don't cry.
Yeah. Any notes on this, man? You think Beth Correa will get a title fight anytime soon? Just because she has that name value? She's fought Ronda Rousey before?
I mean, maybe. I mean, Zingano lost her last fight.
You don't know when Rousey's coming back. If she's coming back.
Lost her last fight.
True.
I think the girl that beat Holly Holm, I can't remember her name. I want to remember right, she's Canadian. She is a monster.
Yeah. Since we're talking about... Since we're talking about the women real quick, I know this is a different weight division. What do you think about Paige Van Zandt?
I think she looked phenomenal her last fight.
Yeah, that was on the Fox?
Yeah, beating Beck Rowley.
She had that crazy knockout kick, huh? Was it like a Karate Kid crane kick?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that she has the potential to be the next big women's star if Ronda Rousey doesn't come back. If she can continue to win, she's really easy on the odds, of course. But
the one fight she lost, she just got mauled, and I mean it was bad.
Who was that? Who'd she lose to?
I want to say Rose Namajunas, but I'm not sure. I want to say that's Pat Barry, the guy who used to be a heavyweight.
Yeah.
In the UFC. That's his wife. He's from New Orleans.
Pat Barry.
Yeah, I believe that was his wife, Rose Namajunas, that beat Paige. And Rose, she gets to where she's almost ready to fight for a title, and then she gets beat too.
Has there been any indication that we'll see a Paige Van Zandt and Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight for the title? Because
that was the fight that was supposed to determine the number one contender for that fight.
Okay.
I think if she wins that fight, she gets Joanna. But I don't think she's ready for that just yet.
I don't think she necessarily is either, but I think that fight will draw big time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Big time. I think it's a pay-per-view headliner.
Yeah.
So, getting into the main call. Go ahead.
She gets a lot of notes for being Team Alpha Male, too. She's the only woman in Team Alpha Male.
Yeah. And, of course, she's been on Dancing with the Stars and stuff like that, too.
Yeah, I'm talking about for the,
Oh, you talking about just for the...
hardcore fight fans?
Yeah.
Being the only woman to train in Team Alpha Male, which is synonymous with building the smaller weight class fighters, everybody.
Well, the name of it is Team Alpha Male. It's not Team Alpha Female. So she's got that going for her just from that.
Yeah.
But she has a big mainstream draw too. Like I said, she's a pretty girl. She was on Dancing with the Stars. I think we talked about this in a previous podcast. She was rumored to show up at SummerSlam or something like that, but that was knocked down real quick. So she has other avenues that she can draw from too. So not just fight fans. Women's strawweight main card. Jessica Andrade defeated Joanne Calderwood. Submission, guillotine choke. I don't know either one of these girls. Round one.
That was a real good fight. she trains with George St. Pierre's team, Faraz Zahabi in Montreal.
Okay.
Roy McDonald, all those guys.
Yeah.
And she was winning. I think she won 2 of her last 3 before this fight. Jessica Andrade, I want to say she fought Joanna, maybe. I'm thinking might be thinking somebody else.
Well, she obviously got beat if she fought Joanna.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think where I know that name from. I mean, I really don't follow the women's fights.
No, I mean, no disrespect, but I know a fair amount of the bantamweight women, and then I know, of course, Joanna and Paige Van Zandt from the strawweight. So, moving up to the next fight, Jimmy Rivera defeated Urijah Faber by unanimous decision, 30-27 on every single fight card, 3 rounds. I mean, what? No disrespect, but what more can you say about Urijah Faber these days?
He looked horrible.
Well, man, he hadn't looked good. He hadn't looked like he looked when he was in WEC since he's gotten UFC, and that's because he finally got to UFC in the twilight of his career. So I really thought that there was one more big fight for him, which will be the TJ Dillashaw fight. I don't even know if it's there anymore. Like, I guess, but
you won't see it again.
no.
I'd be surprised if he came back. He got dominated on the feet, couldn't get a takedown, and for him to not be able to take somebody down, I mean, yeah, he looked that bad.
Well, let me see how old he is. He's 37 years old. So, I mean, it's coming to an end for him anyway. Do you think he should just go ahead and retire, or what? Transition to maybe a commentator role or something like that, because he seems like he could do stuff like that. I don't know.
I think it's too late in the game. I think he needs to be coaching a promoter, kind of like what he's doing for Cody Garbrandt now. You know, getting his name out there and having these young guys come up and go through the smaller promotions and get into the UFC.
Yeah.
And he's doing a good job at that. I think he needs to stick with that because the way he got out class Saturday night, it was bad. Yeah,
and you hate to see a guy who really is a legend in the sport. And I'll say it, Urijah Faber held that bantamweight WEC belt for forever.
Yeah.
So I mean, you hate to see a guy like that lose and get beat, but I mean, when it's time to go, it's maybe time to go. So let's get into this whole fight/ordeal. Mickey Gall, who, like you said, who's had 2 professional fights, defeated CM Punk, who was a wrestling superstar, WWE superstar, who was a big-time WWE superstar, probably only second to John Cena in the company at the time. He defeated CM Punk, who's 37 years old, by submission in the first round, and it really wasn't anything much of nothing. What did you expect going into it?
Exactly what happened.
Yeah, just from a wrestling fan perspective, I was rooting for Punk, but I didn't give him much chance, man, to be honest with you. And no disrespect, I really liked the guy, but I didn't give him much chance.
I watched him do his open workout, and it looked like if me or you wanted to get in there and roll around, go through transitions, never been doing it before.
Yeah. On top of that, who is Mickey Gall?
Mickey Gall's a young kid that trains with the Miller twins, Jim Miller and his brother Dan. He trains with those guys. Been training with them since he was 16 years old.
So I mean, is he gonna be, you think, title contender down the line or what?
Sky's the limit for that kid. He's 23 years old.
True.
Yeah. First of all, he looked real good against a guy, and they gave him CM Punk, and he looked good again. I mean, but it's hard not to look good against CM Punk.
True.
Fight remember that long? Like Joe Rogan said, it's what you get when you get a brown belt rolling around with a white belt.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, I think Punk had a multi-fight deal, right? But Dana White indicated that this will probably be his only first and only UFC fight. And look, I don't blame them for giving Punk a fight on a pay-per-view card because I thought it was a draw. If LSU football wouldn't have been on, I would have ordered the pay-per-view. I would have watched it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a one-time draw type thing. And Punk went on to say, I mean, he said, this is the second best night of my life, I guess, besides the night he got married. And, you know, I had a lot of fun, even though I got my ass kicked. So, if he
To the Fight Club on Sirius XM with RJ Clifford and Steve Cofield.
Okay.
And what they were saying makes a lot of sense.
What'd they say?
Don't let him go. Because if you let him go, Bellator's going to sign him. And they're going to make all this money off of him. Why not keep him? Even though he looked terrible. And he got his ass kicked. Put him on the Ultimate Fighter.
I mean, to me, that is intriguing, Cody. But at the same time, he's 37 years old. I mean, what do you realistically expect from the guy to do if he gets in the octagon again?
Yeah. I mean, he gets on Ultimate Fighter and trains with some guys. He's training with Anthony Pettis and Duke Rufus and those over there at Root Sport. And trains with some guys on Ultimate Fighter, some young guys that's been fighting that can show him some things that maybe other people he's training with can't. And he might get in there and actually be able to win against somebody.
Yeah.
Or he might lose all three of his fights, and then what do you got?
Well, he don't really have anything to lose. He doesn't really have anything to lose.
Exactly. He paid $50,000 for going in there, getting punched in the face about 10 times and choked out.
I thought it was $500,000.
That's what I meant. Excuse me, $500,000.
And Mickey Gall got paid $30K.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Punk was the draw in that fight. Don't get me wrong, but I mean that's kind of how it goes. But I see the point that you explained to me what the guys on Sirius were saying. I know those guys covered this a lot more than I do. I don't really agree with that so much because personally, I don't think Bellator is really any competition to the UFC. I think it's kind of like, if I wanted to equate it to pro wrestling terms, it's kind of like WWE and TNA. I don't really think they're any competition. They would have to sign a multitude of fighters for them to, I think, be into any competition with UFC, and I don't see CM Punk changing that. Now, I do think it would be smart to try to sign CM Punk to a commentating role. I think he's very good on the mic. I mean, we saw that while he was in wrestling.
Yeah, but it's not like he knows the sport.
Well, he's not a Joe Rogan, no, in that sense. But he's entertaining on the mic, so I think he could have some use for there. But ultimately, man, and I know that he said that he will never do it. I'm still holding out hope that you'll see him on Monday Night Raw again one night, or WrestleMania, or back into WWE. Everybody comes back eventually, and I think there's too much money left on the table for him not to come back.
Yeah. I tell you what, I do respect what he did after the fight.
What was that? Take us through that again.
He went to Mickey Gall and he was saying something to him. And at the press conference, they said, "What'd you say to Mickey Gall?" He said, "I told Mickey Gall, don't ever make anybody think that you shouldn't be where you're at." Because Mickey Gall was saying, you know, I don't belong on this poster. You got Urijah Faber and Jimmy Rivera fighting underneath me on this card. It's my third fight.
Yeah, so he's a humble kid.
You got to see.
Yeah, so so Mickey Gall's a humble kid. I didn't know much about him.
Yeah, and CM Punk told him, don't ever feel like you don't belong. You belong here. They wouldn't put you here.
Right. Well, like I said, I have a lot of respect for Punk. I didn't necessarily like how all that stuff went down with him leaving the company, but I wasn't there. I'm not Punk, so I couldn't know what was going through his head.
Yeah. He always seemed like kind of an asshole to me, but after that, you know, kind of changed my opinion of him a little bit.
He did. He seemed like he didn't ever seem like the company guy like John Cena is, or I mean, like John Cena is essentially, or any other. I mean, there are other guys, but he.
Just because he had to go through a different route too.
Well, that's
he was long to make it there, and then other guys just come up and show up. They're like bodybuilders and get thrown in there, so it's kind of fitter.
That is definitely true, but at the same time, it's kind of a tough situation. I just hope we'll see him back because I think there's money left on the table. Now, he has said that he doesn't need to make any more money if he wanted to, and that's perfectly fine. I think he's probably right, but at the same time, like, dude, if you can make the money while you can, make it.
I think you'll see him on Ultimate Fighter because of the money deal. I don't think Dana White will let him go because he knows Bellator will use him just like he did and make money off of him. So why not keep him around and make money off of him yourself?
Well, the Ultimate Fighter thing is definitely the way to go if he stays with the company. So I'll agree with you with that. I don't necessarily know if it would keep. I don't really necessarily understand the whole Bellator thing just because, like I said, I don't think they're really competition. But
I mean, he's thinking of it as money making deal.
yeah, I guess you're leaving money on the table, right? If you cut
Exactly.
it. Okay.
You let him go, your money's going with it because people are going to tune in to watch him fight because of his name.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the heavyweight fight real quick. Fabricio Werdum beat Travis Brown, and it was a very crazy, controversial. Some crazy shit happened in the fight. Take us through it step by step.
Alright. Start of the fight. The horn sounds. Fabricio Werdum runs across the cage and throws a kick to the head of Travis Brown.
Yeah.
Almost like a ninja kick. I don't know what you call it.
I think I saw a replay of it. Yeah. Yeah, I saw a replay of it. It was crazy.
I thought it was a knee at first because the way the camera angled, you couldn't really tell what it was, so it showed the replay from a different angle.
That might be what I give the viewers what you need to watch at the end of this podcast because it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. And the whole fight was just, Travis Brown, at one point in the fight, calls timeout. And the referee's going, runs over there and stops him and says, Fabricio Werdum to back up. Fabricio Werdum punches him in the face.
Well, there's no timeout in fighting, right?
No, absolutely not.
It ain't like a football game or a basketball game.
If you can't fight, you tap. You know what I mean? He said, referee, stop it. I can't go no more.
So tell us why he called timeout because of a broken finger, right?
Yeah, I didn't see it when it happened, but it looked like the first joint in his finger, at the bottom of his index finger, the bone came through the skin.
Which is a hell of a break. I mean, I'm not calling the guy a puss or anything for saying timeout. I mean, shit, I would be flipping my damn brain if I saw that happen to me. But
that might have just been his initial reaction. Like, whoa, hold up, let me see what's wrong with my finger.
Yeah, well, his adrenaline was. Well, the way I kind of pictured, and I didn't watch the fight, but his adrenaline was probably running, and he saw his finger, and he's like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think it saw it at that point. I think he just knew it broke, and he wanted to see how bad it was.
And when you see it is when it starts hurting.
Yeah.
So, I heard somebody say that, I think I read a report that technically that should have been a TKO loss right there as soon as he called timeout for getting him to check on his finger. Is that correct? Do you know anything about that?
That's correct.
So
he called timeout before and they stopped the fight.
So if Travis Brown would have went on to knock Fabricio Werdum out or win in some fashion, it'd have been a real controversial thing. Who was the referee for that fight?
Yeah, big time.
Who was the ref for that fight?
A new guy, I can't remember his name. A short guy, kind of muscled up like Chris Paul.
So it wasn't like Herb Dean or Big John McCarthy or anybody like that, huh?
If it was John McCarthy or Herb Dean, that fight would have been stopped right there.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it would have because,
I would have loved to heard what Dana White said to that guy afterwards.
Yeah, he probably got a hell of an ass shoot.
Well, as he should have, because when you get in there in that type of environment and you are the guy who, I mean, you're essentially there to make sure the fighter doesn't die, or enforce the rules. You have to do that. So, and you have to know the rules, and you have to know the rule book, and you have to play by the game. So, didn't Travis Brown accidentally poke, or I don't know if he did it on accident. He poked Werdum in the eye. I saw a picture of that. It looked gruesome as hell.
Yeah, it was. It was real bad. He does that every fight.
Yeah.
He's one of the world's worst about that.
You were telling me him and John Jones, they put their hands up to somebody's face like they're trying to block a punch. And do you think he's doing it intentionally or what?
I think they're just trying to use their reach. You know what I mean? Instead of when the guy comes in to punch him, they're trying to kind of get a little pushback on him, but they're leaving their fingers open.
Right. So, what happened after the fight?
After the fight, Cleveland fans are booing Werdum, obviously, because they're in Stipe Miocic's hometown.
Yeah, who's
beat Werdum for the belt.
Right, knocked his ass out.
Yeah. And he's blowing kisses at all of them, telling them thank you, and they're steady booing him. So then he wipes his eyes like, go cry somewhere because I won.
He's playing typical heel, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he walks over there for the referee to raise their hands, and Edmund Tavernian, who's Travis Brown's coach.
Also Ronda Rousey's coach, right?
Yeah. Tells him to shut his mouth. And kind of walks at him like he's a little aggressively. And Werdum sidekicks him in the ribs.
Yeah. And Travis Brown, what did he do at that point?
He kind of got in front of him and looked like he was going to do something. And Werdum got ready to fight Travis Brown again. But like Daniel Cormier said in the post-fight, he said, you had 15 minutes to fight this guy. You going to try to fight him after the bell?
Talking about Travis Brown, huh?
Yeah. Don't blow up Mac bad now. You just got your ass kicked.
Yeah, well, Daniel Cormier is absolutely right. That's why I love DC. But, yeah, I have to say, man, I am not the biggest fan of either one of those guys.
I'm not either.
I used to really, really like Travis Brown. I don't know if this was true, but weren't there allegations? I want to stress this. There were allegations. It was never brought to court or anything that he beat his wife.
Yeah, definitely was.
So I'm just going to say that there were allegations. I don't know what the hell happened, but I know there were allegations. And then he's with Ronda Rousey now, and supposedly they're both out of the fight game or whatever the hell. Or Brown got mauled by Cain Velasquez, as I thought he would, but I didn't really think he would win this fight either. And Werdum, I mean, he's just like you said, he's playing typical heel, but he's doing a pretty damn good job at it because I don't really like him either.
He did not look good in this fight either.
Yeah, true. And me and my roommate were talking one day, and before he lost that belt to Stipe, I thought this guy was a mauler.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat Fedor, who was the most decorated heavyweight of all time.
Yeah. He's a monster on the ground. But nobody go to the ground with it now.
Okay, that was another interesting point of the fight. I didn't watch, but I saw reruns. Didn't he at some point just fall and lie on his back and wait for Travis Brown to come and get on the ground with him?
No, this is what happened. Twice in that fight, he cut a front flip.
Like a cartwheel type thing or what?
Like a standing front flip. But he tried to kick Travis Brown on the way down.
What? So he's a hell of an athlete.
Yeah. It's like he was trying to kick him in the face, but he cut a flip when he did it. And when he landed on his back, he tried to grab Travis Brown's leg. And at one point, he tried to do that kind of roll, where you roll and get a heel hook.
Yeah.
But he rolled right past it. And then he kind of just like spun around on his back and was telling him to come on down. And of course, Travis Brown's not going to do that.
No.
Travis Brown, I mean, one of his better aspects of his game is jiu-jitsu. But he's not even on the level that Werdum is.
No, he's a knockout artist.
Yeah, well, absolutely. His jiu-jitsu game is on point.
Yeah.
But he's not anywhere near the Werdum level.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Does Werdum get a shot at Stipe now, or is that more Cain Velasquez? Or do Werdum and Cain fight for the number one contendership?
If it was me, I'd give it to Cain.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just me.
Well, I think people are going to... I would agree, but I wouldn't mind seeing those two guys fight again. But I think people are going to want to see Werdum versus Miocic too. especially after he did that kiss blowing shit at the end or whatever. So.
But you look at this. I mean, you look at what Kane did to Travis Brown versus what he did to Travis Brown.
Yeah. But in all fairness, Werdum beat Cain Velasquez. So I think there's a case for both sides right there.
But here's where the wrench gets thrown in. John Jones has said he wants to move to heavyweight now when he comes back.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. And he wants to fight Stipe.
He doesn't want to fight Daniel Cormier.
No. He wants to move up to heavyweight and fight Stipe.
Well, interesting. I think that would definitely be damn interesting. I think John Jones deserves to give Daniel Cormier that fight, and I would like to see that fight again.
I think he does too, but I think to get Daniel Cormier, he's going to have to fight Rumble, and I don't think he wants to fight Rumble.
Well, is that why you think he wants to move up?
I think their styles clash too much.
Well, he's about to get up here with Stipe Miocic, who can knock you out, and then even Werdum or Alistair Overeem, and I think the heavyweight division is really deep right now. I mean, you have guys at the top, and then you have a lot of veterans who have a lot of big names like Josh Barnett, Roy Nelson. I mean, Travis Brown, Alistair Overeem. Those are all big name guys, and they're all in the heavyweight division right now. So it's pretty.
Yeah. Look at what DC did to those guys.
Yeah. So we'll see. So take me to Stipe and Alistair then, the main event for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. This crowd was hot for this.
Absolutely, they were.
Cleveland crowd.
Cleveland, hometown boys, world champ.
You know.
Who's probably one of the more hated guys in MMA.
Yeah. You know.
Steroid allegations and things of that sort.
Right. After the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA title, and people were like, "Oh, Cleveland, they're the worst sports team in America." And I said, "Well, Cleveland's now home to two champions, Cleveland Cavaliers and UFC heavyweight Stipe Miocic." So I'm glad you brought up that point about Cleveland. But take me through this, man. What happened as soon as the bell rang? It was only a 1-round fight.
They come out and trading punches, and Overeem hits Stipe with a jab and knocks him flat on his ass.
Right.
And does not throw any more strikes. Jumps to the ground and immediately tries to throw him a guillotine choke.
Which you said was dumb, and I agree.
It was in there. It was tight.
Oh.
I guess at some point while he's in that choke, he wakes up. Because he was out when he fell flat on his ass, he was out.
Oh my God.
So when he finally wakes up to, realize what's going on, he grabs the choke and breaks it. And that just shows you the strength that he has, because Overeem is a strong guy.
Oh, he's built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Brock Lesnar had the most impressive. Steroids or not, for both of them, I don't give a shit what you say. They had definitely the most impressive physiques in the heavyweight division that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And I think Overeem used to be a light heavyweight years ago is crazy.
Yeah. Well.
He broke the guillotine choke, and from then on out, I guess that kind of really woke him up and made him start fighting. And it wasn't long before he dropped Overeem with a jab and got on top of him and was just bouncing his head off the mat. Refs jumped in and stopped it.
Right.
Like after he broke that choke,
it lit a fire under his ass, huh?
Yeah, it's like he just thought, he was like, shit, I don't even know what to do.
Let me just punch the guy.
I think it kind of surprised him that Stipe was that strong to break out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so take me to what happened post-fight when Joe Rogan got in there and interviewed both guys, particularly Alistair Overeem.
Overeem said that he thought Miocic tapped to a guillotine choke and he let it go, which was not the case. You can see that wasn't the case when the fight was going on, much less when they showed the replay.
Okay. So was Overeem just wary from a knockout, or was that like an excuse? Like, what do you think?
I think he just didn't know.
And Joe Rogan has since gone on and said that he doesn't want to interview fighters post-fight after a KO anymore because of that.
I agree with him.
I agree too. I mean, people want to hear from those guys, but at the same time, like, you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. Stipe was firing up the Cleveland crowd for that Ohio, Ohio, you know.
Yeah.
So, man, tell me what you. So you said the heavyweight division is. It's not really clear what happens with the belt next, but who do you think Dana White gives the next title shot to?
I think if John Jones is serious about moving up and can show that he will not get any more stupid shit, I think that he'll move him up and give him the crack.
You don't think he comes up and fights a Werdum or even like a Alistair Overeem or somebody first? You think he goes straight to the title?
I don't think it'd be a fight.
What do you mean?
I think John Jones at 230 pounds is a monster.
Right. So
you already saw him and Gustafsson fight. He's got a chin. That's been tested.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Cormier tested it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. And all the wild strikes he throws.
I think it'd definitely be interesting. I mean,
I think Kane could probably beat him.
I think so.
I think Miocic has a good chance of beating him. But other than that, I don't see anybody in the heavyweight division. Rothwell when he's on, because he's so big and he can impose his will on those guys.
What about Roy Nelson?
No.
I think him and Josh Barnett would be an interesting fight. I don't think Barnett would beat him, but I mean, I think that would be an interesting fight.
I think it'd be more like Barnett Travis Brown fight, you know?
Yeah.
Barnett tried to take him down, and his elbows just rained down on his head.
Here's the thing: if Lesnar does come back to UFC, which I don't think he is, I don't think. Maybe he does. I hope he does. But if he does, how about Lesnar versus John Jones in a super fight?
I would love to see that. Love to see it.
Well, you told me that you thought Lesnar could beat anybody in an unsanctioned street fight, and I agree with you. But I think a close second is probably John Jones.
Yeah.
So, I would love to see Lesnar and Overeem fight again. I would love to see Lesnar and Velasquez fight. I think Velasquez would probably beat him, but
I still think Cain Velasquez is the best heavyweight in the world.
I agree. I think that something happens in his mind when he loses a fight that makes him go that much harder. And I like Stipe, don't get me wrong. I think he's a legit guy, but I think that would be his biggest test in the heavyweight division is at this point Cain Velasquez.
And I don't know what happened to Stephen Struve. I know he was out with a heart condition for a while, but I thought he came back and fought another fight after that. That's one of the only losses Stipe had.
The skyscraper, huh?
Yeah, he got lost to him and lost to JDS, and that's it.
Well, so if you could sum this card up with one word, would it be weird?
Yeah.
That's what I was going for, man. Just a lot of the finishes from Urijah Faber just losing dominantly, he's such a legend, to the whole CM Punk versus Mickey Gall thing, a pro wrestler who has a 0-0 MMA record fighting a guy who has a 2-0 MMA record, to all the shenanigans that went down with Fabricio Werdum and Travis Brown's fight, to the whole out thing about Alistair Overeem knocking Stipe on his ass and then getting him in a guillotine, Stipe getting out and then knocking him out, and then Alistair Overeem saying that he thought he tapped out. I mean, this was weird, man.
I think if Overeem hits him, instead of going for that choke, you got a new world champion.
Interesting. I mean, definitely that goes to the type of fighter you are. He should have had a better strategy.
Yep. I mean, it didn't happen, but I mean, he's already out. So I mean, you get him down and hit him a couple times, the refs won't stop him. I don't know why he didn't do that.
Real quick before we go here, I want to preview UFC 204. And I just want to talk about one fight. Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping for the UFC middleweight championship.
I cannot wait.
I will be watching that. Unless it is. Yeah, unless it's something where LSU's playing Ole Miss or playing Alabama, which I don't think it'll be that late. When is this fight?
Florida game.
Florida game?
I think so.
I hope that son of a bitch is done because I will want to watch that.
I know they usually play Florida that weekend.
Is it the second? Is it October 8th?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're playing. Yeah. Well, that's one of just a weird situation, man, where if we're talking seriousness and who actually deserves a title fight, some people might not argue Dan Henderson, but just storyline purposes, this is fucking Rocky 6 or Rocky 5 or whatever it is right here.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad they made this fight and that Dana White listened to the people instead of the ranking and made this fight. I think Bisping loses the belt to Dan Henderson.
Well, that would be quite the sight, and I can't wait. I think Dan Henderson has to bring it though.
I think he brings it.
He's never won it.
Every time.
He's never won a championship in UFC, but he's arguably the most decorated fighter in history.
Well, he's only fought for one time. That's when he fought Anderson Silva.
Did he fight for a light heavyweight title one time?
No, I don't believe.
Okay. He's 46 years old. So, for those of you who don't follow MMA but just listen to that podcast, he's 46 years old, and he's about to fight for the UFC middleweight championship of the world. So, we'll see what happens. It's kind of interesting because they just announced the other day that Luke Rockhold will fight Jacare, who you would figure that would be who would get the number one contendership, but I guess that is going to be a number one contender fight.
Yeah. Rockhold said the other day that he wasn't going to fight. Said until they give me the money that I think I deserve, I'm going to stick to modeling. He's got some kind of modeling contract.
Yeah, well, he looks like a pretty boy and shit like that. No disrespect. He's a good fighter.
Not too much on fighting. And if it isn't on fighting, he's fighting Jacare. He's in for a hell of a night.
I would like to see him and Chris Weidman fight again. I thought we were kind of robbed of that fight when Weidman had to pull out. But I mean,
Weidman's fighting Romero in New York.
I think he will beat Romero.
I think he will too.
When he walks out to that "Won't Back Down" song in New York, shit's gonna go crazy with the American flag on his back.
Yep, I think Romero, he's a hell of a fighter, but he gasses too easy.
Oh yeah. When is that fight?
I think that's in November the 5th, maybe.
Is that
November 12th.
Is that the Madison Square Garden? That's okay. That's the Garden, but that's not the headliner, right?
The headliner, I think, is McGregor and Alvarez. Well, they haven't announced it yet officially, but I think that's who it's going to be.
You think McGregor's gonna be ready?
I think he better be if he's fighting Eddie Alvarez.
I mean, obviously, but I mean like his just medically cleared to fight.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get beat up against Diaz's last time.
No, I thought.
Bruised, but I mean, that was about it.
No, well, he better bring it. They haven't officially announced anything, but he better bring it if that happens. That's going to be a great card too.
I know Cowboy and Lawler was supposed to be on that fight card, but they pulled it the other day. Lawler pulled out.
For reasons, I saw those before. What were the reasons again?
I didn't see it. I looked and I tried to see why he did it, but it never did say anything.
Huh. Interesting. Well, Well, Cowboy wanted Eddie too.
Cowboy might get one of the Diaz brothers, from what I read.
Oh my God! It would have to be Nate, huh?
Well, no, Nick fights 172.
Is he ready to fight though, with his suspension and all of the stuff?
I think his suspension's up already.
Well, I didn't think it was because that's the reason they didn't let him walk out with Nate at 202.
You're right. Maybe it'll be up by then, and that's what they're saying. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, look, Cody, man.
Shorten it up, I think, from what it was.
It was like 5 years, but they dropped it down to like 2, I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't remember how long ago that was. His last fight was against Anderson Silva. So.
Yeah.
Well, good podcast, man. I appreciate it. We did this over the phone. We're trying to try something a little different. Everybody's busy these days, and I'm in the middle of school. Cody's working. Everybody seems like they're busy, and it's just hard to get to a one-on-one conversation. I like the one-on-one combos in person, but maybe the phone thing is a little something different. We'll see.
Yeah, one-on-ones are funner anyway when we get drink a beer.
True. I'm drinking a damn protein shake right now. But, yeah, I wish it was a beer. All right, man. Be good. Catch you down the road. See you later.